built to be a point of sale system. All right. So it does take a lot of getting used to. It's also picky. So yesterday we started Node, which we've already worked with a little bit. We talked a little bit about asynchronous programming, but we didn't get into what it does. We built a teeny tiny server. We just had it run. We didn't do anything with it. And then we struggled to assign variables for our input. That's okay. Sometimes, just reading is really hard. This Stack Overflow question talks about what standard in and standard out are.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. This is nice. So it just talks about all these things and why it works the way that they do, which is nice. I don't know why I put this here. This needs to be in a different section. It's okay. All right. So just like in our plain vanilla JavaScript, we can do events. We get to emit events with Node. So in our front-end JavaScript stuff, we catch all of our events with event listeners. So instead of catching events, we're going to throw them. And they're called emitting. So let's take a look. We'll talk about this in a second when we get to the files change section. Yep. So this is how deep dive overview how Node works. It is a single threaded application, which, okay, all right. That's all, okay. That first sentence has 6 words in it that I'm like, All right. So Node.js is a single threaded application, but it can support concurrency via the concept of event and callback.
Okay. Yeah, I'm lost.
Exactly. So let's break the sentence apart and let's get some definitions. So threads are an operating system concept. It is this idea of I normally describe them as little magic elves that make stuff happen in your operating system. Single-threaded applications means it has one dude. There's one little magic elf that can do stuff. And so far with all of our programming, that's what we've done. They can take the one piece and they can do one thing, and they're really good at it. They can't go off and do other stuff. They can't really do anything. And then if they need to wait for something, they just wait. They don't, spawn new processes or anything like that. They just wait. Okay, so a single-threaded application means we have one thing that can do stuff. It's saying your alpha ambidextrous. Yeah, you can do more than one thread. Exactly. Yep. However, we get to kind of cheat, and we get to use events and callbacks, which we'll talk about in depth a little bit more today, to make it behave like a multi-threaded application. And so what that means is we get more little dudes to go do stuff for us, and we don't have to wait for things. We can have other stuff run and all that. The operating system counterpart to that is cores. So if you hear when people are like, oh, it's a quad core, multi-threaded, I don't know. I don't do a lot of hardware. Whatever the fanciest new name brand is, Intel Core Chippy Boy 7. What it's saying is each core has a thread, and if it's multi-threaded, we get more than one thread. So when we're doing those kind of operating system structures, we get to run more code at the same time. And that's what makes your computer faster and have more bandwidth to do more programs. So that's what dual core and quad core and all that kind of stuff means, is that we get more ability to spawn processes. These are also called daemons, but they normally get called demons. There is an A in it, but most people just call them demons. Yep. Intel exploits are because of how they implemented multi-threading and predictions. Yep. It spawns ghost processes, and then you can just ride the ghost processes down and get access to whatever you want. Hardware. It's a fun time. I love hardware hacking. This is a little bit tangential, but like there are some people who can like hack your passwords based on listening to your computer. So like not you typing your password in, not that noise. But like just like listening to your computer, like fan whir, they can figure out what your password is.
Wow.
I don't know if they patched that multi-threading risk. I mean, I'm assuming that like the newer chips do, but like it's a hardware thing, so I don't know what you patched for the hardware. It's a cool little thing. I mean, like obviously you couldn't do it in like a Starbucks or something, but you know, it's cool. They did patch it, but the patch reduces your performance. Yeah. Is AMD better than Intel? That is a hot debate. That is a hot debate. I'm not qualified to answer that question. I recommend like some Linus Tech Tips. All right, I'm going to ask a couple people and I'm going to get some wild feedback. AMD is ahead of Intel because Intel stalled their production processes. Yeah, they have a new hot product cycle next, though. Exciting. I will also say, yeah, and that like the stable Intel cores are fine. All right, the answer I've got so far is depends who you asks. And then the next answer I got was, in my opinion, yes. So we got some soft support for AMD from people who are much more hardware oriented than I am. Where are my Intel people at? But yeah, I will say like Apple's moving away from Intel, and I think that's gonna affect how things work. Yeah, I mean, like it like also decides like it runs Sims really well. Can it run Doom?
Okay, I have no idea what they're talking about.
We're diving a little bit deep into hardware stuff, which is fine. Because I think understanding how operating systems handle events makes us understand how Node handles events. Because it's the same thing. It's a server-side language, and so it's talking to your processor the same way that, like, you know, when you run a program. Okay, we're getting derailed into Sims mod. At our level of use, our while and afterwards matters more than which team we prefer. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That is where I'm at. I feel that. Okay. So events are stuff that we've already talked about a little bit before. They're just things. And callbacks we've actually already seen too. So we use the observer pattern. We look at the event loop, which is this guy right here. We list some events, we do some events, we handle the events, which is really nice. This looks similar to callbacks. Yeah, cool, whatever. We don't know what a callback is, so thanks for saying they're similar. That's great. Here's what the code looks like. This is going to create a function. Create a file. So we're requiring the events module. Great. We've seen that before. That's not bad. We're going to create a new object. Okay, that's still not too bad. We've seen objects. We've seen creating new objects. We create a connection, and this is just basically like waiting so we can see all the stuff. Here's our actual little function though. It emits an event called data received. When we get connected, we call this function up here. And then when we get data received, we log it and all that. So notice this piece of code right here. This is the piece of code that makes everything else run. So let's walk through it. Emit an event called connection. When the connection event emits on connection emit, call the connect handler. So calling this guy here, we're going to emit a new event called data received, which then comes down here. And when the data is received,
you're just going up and down. I'm like,
yes, and this is asynchronous programming.
Oh,
so it's confusing. Let's take a look. We might also draw this one out. So it's not in order, exactly, yes. Asynchronous programming means that it is not in order.
Wow, yeah.
All I'm doing is setting up our stuff so we can have it run locally. Okay. So event emitters are asynchronous, or is all node asynchronous? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, totally. Yes. Yes to both. So Node is asynchronous in nature. We can write synchronous code with Node, but the beauty of it is we get to write asynchronous code. Not only is it not in order, and the commands are out of order from the way we read English. Yeah, definitely. So let's take a look. So look at that. So even though the code was all wonky, look at the order that comes back out. And all I did was copy the code. I made a little directory to put stuff in, and then I copied the code into a file, and then I ran it. And then this is the output. We've successfully connected. We received the data, and then the program ended. Great. That is not at all what that code looked like. Let's take a look. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to unhighlight this screenshot. And we're going to draw on it. So I'm drawing with a mouse, so please be patient with me. And if it's really ugly, you know, I made a camera sound. Yeah. Hello, can I have this be bigger? No, okay. I hope that's big enough because it won't let me zoom in any more than that. So I hope you guys can see that. It won't let me zoom in anymore. Okay, so we're going to draw. So first and foremost, this is where we start down here. Oops. All right, I'm going to delete this guy because get lost. Oh, and then I'm going to draw. Let me draw. Okay, so this is where we start. We start on top. Here, I'm going to mute you real fast. You were making it.
Who is that?
I think it's Andrew. Yeah. That's all good. I'm just going to. And then definitely feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question. All right. So this is where we start. This is the connection event. So it's like name, what we're doing, the object. Oops, that'll handle it. So there we go. This is what starts it. And like the way that we've looked at code, this should be the next thing that runs. It's program ended. But this is just basically like a function call. So we're going to go look for this connection thing. We basically like, you know, when you go to like Nacho Mama's or like, I'm trying to think of another place that does this, Waffle House, and you know, the person takes your order and then yells it back to the other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is doing. It is emitting an event called connection. So it's yelling back to everyone else, hey, I have a connection. And then just like when you go to like Nacho Mama's or Waffle House, they'll say it back and be like, okay, when that happens, we're going to do this. So when the connection is yelled out, it's emitted, the connect handler is going to handle it. Just like, you know, the like person, you know, doing the waffle things is going to be like, okay, you said a waffle, I know how to handle waffles, can make waffles. So that's what it's going to do. So we started here. We said, hey, I want this. This has been listening for it. So on connection, emit connection, it's going to do this. Whoop. So then we go here. And here he is up here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run him. Okay, so then it's going to do this. We saw that. Connection successful. It just does that. It's just like, okay, I heard you. I'm doing that. Finally, we come down here and do this piece. We're going to say, okay, data received. So it's going to come down here. And then it's going to run this function. Ooh. And it's going to say, okay, so when data received, so somebody else yelled out data received, it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to call this function. And he doesn't have a name. It's an anonymous function. And then see, right there it says anonymous function. Great. It's upside down, kind of, yeah. So then we do this, and we finally do this.
Oh, this is all out of whack.
Yes. So this is the magic of asynchronous code is we get to not have to wait for stuff. So this data received just logs it, but what if it was actually like getting data from a server or something? Having this asynchronous code means we could run other stuff while we're waiting. Yes, I will save this and send it to you in Slack. And then obviously the top two just make objects. So I don't think that's too terrible. So technically be like 0. These just happen. But this asynchronous code combined with this idea of promises and waiting and all that lets us build out huge, fast data structures. And so then we can go from, you know, having to wait for stuff to load to be able to like load other resources while we're waiting. So like when you go to YouTube, you know, you have the main video that you're loading, but you have all that other stuff. So asynchronous code allows us to load all those other things, you know, most importantly, those ads, while we're waiting for the video to load, which is nice. All right. Yeah. So we make money. All right. Let me Slack that to you guys real quick. I have too many screenshots and I need to organize them. Yes. Go for it. Yes, there we go. All right. So that's kind of confusing, but like it's just kind of like the opposite of instead of listening for an event, we're going to throw the event out. which is kind of what we're doing. Is though we get to name the events whatever we want. So this gives us a lot of flexibility. So like, you know, connection and data received, those are pretty easy, but like you can also do like, you know, event emitter dot emit, you know, win game, lose game, you know, do the little, I don't know what they're called when like you're playing a video game and they do the little dancey things. Emoticoning, I don't know. Emote, yeah, there you go. Event dot emitter emit, you know, a victory emote. Like you can name them whatever you want, which really gives you a lot of fine-tooth control over these kind of events, which is really nice. So then you can have a bunch of your little characters all do their little dances, which is, you know, vital programming skills. Have your little dudes dance. Hammer time. Yep, Utimus. All right. So how do we feel like that was the flows confusing?
Yes, ma'am. It sure is.
Yeah. So, okay. Does this line make sense?
Yeah. I mean, everything makes sense when you explain it, but if I look at it by myself, I'll be like, really?
I do highly recommend doing what I did and drawing on it. And like if you can't do it, like if you have a Mac, you can do what I did. You just take a screenshot and draw on it. There are lots of other tools that let you draw on pictures like that, and I'm just using my mouse, so like it's not bad. But if you can't figure out how to do screenshots and draw on them, print them out and write on it. Any video references. Did I not put videos in week 6? I thought I did. I thought week 5 was the only one I didn't put videos in.
I mean, I did something similar for my homework, but it did seem this confusing.
Yes, this is something new. This is totally confusing. I did not put videos in this week. Maybe, Zuzi, can you Slack me to put videos in this, and I'll do it today or tomorrow. Yes, we haven't looked at asynchronous code yet. This has been the first time that we've really seen a piece of asynchronous code and really looked deep into it. Yeah, I don't think you needed to write any asynchronous code for yesterday's homework. Yeah, Windows has screen snip. That's also a really good point. I actually really like the Windows screen snip tool better than anything for the Mac. That's free. There are paid Mac tools that are very, very nice, but y'all know how I feel about paying for things. So the event emitters, we just emit an event and then we handle it somewhere else. That part feel okay?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Any questions about just like we emit event called connection and then we handle it here? Is that part okay?
Yeah.
So before you get out of order, you have to create the event. First, you got to do the required events. Then you got to create the event emitter. Then you got to create the event handler, right? So those are the things that stay in order.
Yeah, and so like you can put this technically wherever you want, but yes, putting the event handler up here makes the most sense. Yes, definitely the require still goes on top, and then creating your object still goes on top. And then any other static thing, because like let's say maybe you have you know, I don't know, like let's say the data here, maybe we need to have it saved up here and we're changing it. You put it still at the top. Because the magic is this right here. And so then what we can do on this like piece is this piece might be waiting for another system to catch up and do something. And so then once this hits, then we can go do other things, which is really nice. That's cool. We'll come back to this. Do we care? All right, we'll come back to this in just a second. So the really nice thing is like, we just get to do whatever we want, which is really nice. We can emit any kind of event. We can use things with our servers, file systems, Mocha tests, database calls, whatever. Like, we just use them, which is cool. Let me think if there's anything else. Otherwise, we're going to dive into that piece next. I think that's it. Okay, cool. So let's get into file systems. FS. Well, any questions about event emitters? Besides, like, the order is really confusing and I don't enjoy that it's out of order.
What is your short? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, like, what's your like simple like definition of an event emitter?
An event emitter is just a object from the event module. I'm sorry, a method from the event module that allows us to asynchronously call code. So it's kind of like the same thing like a function call. But instead of being like, call the connection event at this specific time, it's going to just wait for that event to be emitted or for it to be caught by an on.
So that's the key part, is that you can call code at a specific time.
Yeah, so like whenever you connect it to the server, it'll work instead of like maybe running out of order when you're not expecting it to.
Like JavaScript.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so Node is still JavaScript, it's just asynchronous.
Right.
Yeah. The nice thing is like if we just ran a JavaScript file, it would just run in order. And like, so it would just do this, and then it would just do this, and then it would just do this, and then like that's totally out of order. Like, we're gonna run all sorts of weird things out of order. Cool. Any other questions about event emitters?
Can we do an example?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me go here. Let me go here. Take a look. This one? What are you? How complicated is this? Let me go look at the other one. This one might be complicated. These are both complicated. I want a simpler one. This is the one we just looked at.
Did you get my homework?
I don't know.
Oh.
I did grades yesterday afternoon. So if you turned it in after like 5 yesterday, I didn't see it.
No, I mean for today. Oh yeah, I submitted it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I had something similar to the event emitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's really simple.
All right, let me go on. Oh, okay. Yep. I'm hunting for this thing so we can take a look at it and run it. I don't know where it is. So we've got to organize things. All right. You know what's really sad is I spent like a day organizing all my stuff too. Like that's all I did is I deleted junk and organized everything. And I still don't know where any of my stuff is. I'm just gonna make sure there's nothing up there. I'm in that solid parakeet node one that I put in Slack, and I am looking at event emit.js. Hello. Okay. All right. Ooh, oops, I've hit zoom in too many times. We're gonna let it have a second to catch up with us. Okay, there we go. Very nice. Okay, so here's our code.
I want to make sure you see my confused face.
Yeah. So right now, here's what we got. We got require event emitter. So these 2 lines are just setting it up so we get to use it. Require events and make a new event emitter object. Those 2 lines good?
Yes.
Okay. Then we have our definition for what we're going to do. So this is going to be waiting and hanging out for a start event to happen. And then this is a anonymous lambda expression, which is kind of confusing, but this is the same exact thing as doing something like this. Oops. Same thing. Same thing, just different notation. So then once that happens, it's going to go, okay, console.log. That's what it's going to do. So once this here's a start event, it's going to just say started. Then down here, this emits the event. So let's take a look, and then we're going to comment and uncomment some things and take a look at some other things it'll do. So we just do node event emit.js. Started. All it does. It just says, okay, I started. That's all that it's doing. It hits this emit start function, and then it comes over here and it handles it based on this callback function, which is anonymous. Less confusing, more confusing, thoughts, questions?
It seems less confusing now, but I feel like I'm gonna try to put it in order anyway. So
No. Oh. It's okay to write the code in order. Just be aware that like as you're building stuff out, you'll kind of group things together into logical groups instead of ordered groups. Less confusing, still confused. Yeah, still confusing, need practice. Okay, cool. Let's look at these other 2 that are commented out, and let's see what happens. I think I can run all of them. I don't know if this is going to break. Let's find out. I think I'm only supposed to run one of these at a time. So this might break because I think this demo is meant to be one piece at a time. But, you know, fortune favors the brave and all that. Oh, yeah, it didn't like that. Okay. So nothing broke. It just like tried to run all of them because these are all called the same thing. So it tried to run all of them. And so then when it tried to find, you know, it asked for a number here, but this one doesn't hand it back a number. So it just said undefined. So that's what it's doing. So we can just comment out him. And then notice that's the other magic is like we can have it run multiple functions with one call. Like that's pretty cool. We don't need to have like a handler function to tell us, hey, okay, call this function and then this function, then this function. It just calls them, which is really wonderful. So like if we want to spawn a bunch of stuff right at the beginning, you know, like emit a login event, and then when a user logs in, we want to, you know, update the last time they logged in, show them data, you know, like multiple things. We can use event emitters to do that too, which is very fancy. And then one more time, this kind of notation, so handing in a function as a parameter, which is what we're doing here, This particular one's called a callback, but like this is what makes JavaScript a functional programming language, which is really cool. All right, so I hope this a little bit simpler demo made it make more sense. All we're doing is instead of having like buttons or an event listener, we're basically like yelling out what we expect our code to do. And our code's just kind of always listening. And so like, it's just going to be just like if we're at, you know, like Waffle House or whatever, the, you know, person making waffles is waiting to hear someone say, okay, make waffles. And then as soon as they hear that, they go. They don't necessarily care about going down the order of the, you know, the kitchen. I don't know why that word was so hard. They don't care, you know, like they're not gonna, it doesn't have to be a game of telephone. You know, it's not like the one person says it and they hand it and they hand it and they hand it. They're listening and know and can just do it independently, which is really nice. And like, obviously, I think we can already see that occasionally this can cause issues. The idea that comes to mind is maybe you have two functions that have the same thing going on, and maybe only one of them's supposed to run. It's like when you go to like a coffee place and waffles, and you know they're like, okay, order for, you know, Joe, and then like 6 dudes stand up. You know, got to make sure we're being differentiated. I know. I try to talk about Nacho Mamas too, not just Waffle House. Cool. There is this events one is the demo that we walked through from the website. This one's a little bit more complicated. This gets into using a set timeout function too. I think we might talk about it later today, but we might not. But it's there for you to look at if we don't talk about it.
And that's in Slack?
Yes. This is all in the solid parakeet node GitHub repo that I posted this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right. So now let's play with something a little bit more practical. And I think that will help us see these event emitters in action. So let's learn a tool that we can use to have like it do stuff. So our next big thing is file systems. So like, you know, when we have a computer or a server, we probably want to be able to like store data. And we do that with file systems. It's not called file system, it's called FS. That is what the module is called. And it just stands for file systems, and we get a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you know, we can read files. Wonderful. We can also write files, which I think is much more cool. But so
why is there not an else?
Why is there nothing else? Okay, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's take a look. Can somebody walk me through this code? And I think that'll also help answer Irene's question too. What is this code doing?
Basically you putting text in, and if there's an error, it gives you error stack.
Mm-hmm.
And then it transfers the data to a string.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, it's program ended.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So why is there not an else?
I was asking you.
Because if the code works, you wanted to just run, right? Or do what it's going to do. You just wanted to basically say what happens if there's an error. But other than that, you just want the code to string it, right?
Yep. The big thing is this return. So notice that what happens if we return out of a function, it stops running everything else. Yeah, else is implied, conditions are not met, do nothing. Exactly, yeah. And we also have this return right here. So it's just, if it hits inside of that if statement, it's just going to stop. It does not care about anything else in that function. It's just going to kick all the way back out. So excellent questions, and I think excellent explanation of what this does. Where am I? How did I get all the way up here? Whatever. So right now, I'm just making a text file. It's called input. I'm gonna make a new read.js. I'm gonna go get that code real fast. Yep. And put it in here. All I'm doing right now is just using the terminal to just make files. So nothing crazy out here. All I've done is I made the input file that it wanted. It's just a text file with some text in it. And then I copied the code, which we've already talked through and walked through and decided what it did. So now let's see it. Look at that. It went through and it read the text file. What's weird about this?
The program ended as first.
Mm-hmm. Why do we think that is?
Oh, maybe it ran the function, but there was nothing in there, and then it just gave you what you had in your text file?
Yeah, so that's what this line is doing. Is it going through and it's going to take that data from here and pass it to a string and print it out. That's what this line's doing.
Okay.
But because this is a callback function, this takes time to happen. So this happens first. Let's see, what did they say? Yes, after the read operation is complete, which finally reads the content. So here we see program ended, then it actually prints the content because it's at the bottom. Yeah. Well, more importantly, not at the bottom, but not inside the function call. But good thing. So, okay, so cool. So then let's go in here. Let's go here. Let's do this. So now that's not there. So now what happens? We do this. No, there's no such file or directory. So it tells us the error, it tells us what the error code is, and it tells us the description, which is cool. And again, that program ended thing still happened after the error happened because of the callback function. So does the practical demo with looking at a file help?
Yeah.
And any questions about file systems or like reading or writing files? Any questions with that? All right. I do want to look at, so remember, read the documentation. Read the documentation. Read the documentation. I want to look at here. And I want to go to this. Is this what I want? Yep. Excellent. Yeah, Flavoscopes is really nice. This is not what I'm looking for. I want and we'll just cheat. File system node JS. Here we go. This is the page that I wanted. Yes, excellent. Here we go. This is what I wanted. These are all the things you can do with the file system object. Got a lot, which is really nice. So we can read streams, we can get statuses, we can write, we can see who owns stuff, we can do all this really cool stuff. Unwatch files, and conversely, watch files. hint, hint, cough, 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 hint, watch files is something useful for your homework. Read the docs. Okay. Caveats. Fancy. Okay. Cool. So we've read a file. Now let's write a file using this. The read file one makes sense. We just, read file, this file, print the content back out, and if you can't find it, return an error. That part makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's write a file. No, that's a server. You.
That's a file.
Yeah, this one's just reading files too, though. I want to know where my writing one is. See, I should have just.
That's what you showed us yesterday, right?
This is a working demo for yesterday. Anyways. All right, where is the write.js? Here we go. Here we go. All right, so then let's go to here. Nope, wrong one. Wrong one. I want to go here. I want to go to here. Okay, so this this has an ugly thing in here.
Ooh.
So first off, this line makes sense. We're just requiring file system, so we get to use the file system.
Mm-hmm.
Great. This is ugly. I hate this. I don't enjoy this.
Well, we have something in common.
Yeah. Also, what this is doing right here is what it's saying is this needs to be a really specific format so that way we can put it into a file without stressing about it. So that's what it's doing. This unsigned integer values just means a number and it can't be negative. That's what it's saying. And it's a string that we're going to handle to an array so that way we can put it back to other content. That's what this piece is doing. So we want to be able to take input in. It's going to put it as an array of numbers just so it can be able to write it back out. Then we have our buffer one. Again, notice it's a similar integer of arrays. This is the thing that we want to do. And again, notice all I'm doing is hovering over these things in VS Code and look at how much information it gives me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let it explain to you what these things are. And like sometimes you're like, I couldn't tell you coerced value of an object. I don't, but it definitely can be really helpful for understanding what things are. So what this is saying is take this string, create an integer array, make sure it's an integer array. That's what it's doing, which is kind of weird, but it's just so that way we can hand it through our operating system without it throwing a hissy fit. So kind of ugly, but that's what it's doing, is it's just taking a string and making it readable to the computer. Yeah, use this feature. It is so nice. Okay. So then we tell it, we use write file. Go ahead. We use write file. And then we name it. We have some data, which is this guy up here that we defined. Or we have an error function. And again, please note that this is like an ugly one-liner way of doing if statements. I do highly, highly recommend always doing your if statements like this. Just because that way if you have to go back and change something, it's not the end of the world and you don't have to put a lot of effort into thinking about what your if statement is doing. Also saying is if error, throw error. Otherwise, log that the file's been saved. Where is this? So first what I'm going to do is just see that file. Look at all that. There's a bunch of stuff in here. So there's some data that's been appended to it in another JavaScript file too. So let's go ahead and run this and then reprint that message. I'm also going to add a new line character too. I think that's right. It might break everything. We'll find out. We say right. Hey, we got a success message, no error message. So then we run cat. There we go. So that /n is new line. So notice here, it didn't print a new line and it's just all smooshed together. So I added a new line. And then also notice it overwrote all that data. So there was other stuff in that file and it just overwrote it. It said, no, thank you. I don't care. Goodbye. So write files will overwrite over other content, but it can also just generate new text things. So let's do name.text because I don't think that exists. No? Do I know my alphabet? The answer is no. I can assure you. Okay. And we're going to put my name in here. I'm going to misspell my own name. That's a good bold move. And then notice I saved it before I ran it again. We write it. And then now, there it is. We got a new file. So it made us a new file, and we can print the content out from it. There we go. This is how we can write files using Node. If we're working with stuff, we might need to do some weird formatting to make sure that stuff behaves appropriately. How we feel about that, besides this part. This is just kind of like weird. We want to make our input behave properly. How we feel about everything else. When you practice hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been getting into a little bit more complicated concepts. I feel like this week is the end of last week, so now I'm kind of like, ah!
Yes, definitely. Yes. Node is more complicated than plain JS, for sure. We got an eh. Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Haley.
Yeah. These are all reasonable responses. Node is hard. Asynchronous code is hard. This idea of modular code, these are all hard concepts. So it's okay to be like about them. Where did the cat name.text? Cat is a CLI command to just print content out. So I wanted to see what was in the file. So I just used cat to print the file content out. And then we made the name.text here. Yeah, cat's just a way to get it to print out. Whew. All right. We can also append files. So require a file system, data to append. So maybe we do and another new line. Again, we got our single one-liner throw error. We just write append. And then obviously, like maybe I should use some like string, what you call it? String literals. Yes. / and meet that a new line. Yep. And then here we're gonna maybe do like, I don't know, that's not named. I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna play. I think we're gonna get an error, but I'm gonna play. We're gonna find out together. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. I think this is gonna throw an error. I want to find out. Yep. That's
That
fine.
is not fun.
Okay. Okay, there we go. But now if we come in here and we print out the messages one, because that's what it's appending to, notice it appended to it. And notice that I ran this twice because I was playing with stuff, and notice that it did it twice. So even though the console.log part errored out, it still ran the function twice. So it still made the change.
Okay, don't start. Jesus.
I've been like this all day. You can ask everyone I did code review for today. I went to bed on a reasonable time. I've been drinking coffee.
Heck.
Yeah.
Too young for all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. You have to really watch me struggle because I was just like, it's all good. All right. I don't want to get too deep into the HTTP module until, because I don't want to do it for 10 minutes and then stop. So it's a teensy bit early for our break, but not too bad. So let's take our break and then let's try to speed through these 3 modules. Actually, yeah. If we can get through these 2 today, I'll be happy. If we can do promises, that'd be great. But that's my goal, is to at least get through those 2 and then hopefully start promises.
Oh Lord.
Let's take our break. Let's come back at 2:30. I'll give you guys a whole 2 minutes.
What?
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I'm so generous. Go do some stretching or something.
Okay.
Come back at what time? I'm sorry.
2:30.
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you.
Hey, baby.
Where you? Man, I want a 3D printer. I keep trying to talk my parents into doing it, and they're like, who's getting one? I was like,
Girl. Then you can have one too.
but I want to help you. Like, if you got some basic questions, because I got basic knowledge. If you got basic questions, I can help. Anything
Okay.
above that, that's chase.
I'm gonna hit you.
Like, I know temperature. Like, if it's a warping up, it's probably temperature. If it's like not printing right, it could be like the air, and that's basically all I got.
Well, I know that. I went to the class too, remember?
I mean, I was just saying, you know, like changing the temperature. Like, I remember how to change the temperature. I don't know if you remember that, but I remember how to change the
Well, I
temperature.
got a different printer though. I have to build it together first.
I want to help Bill. Man, if COVID-19 was not happening, I'd come over so quick. I'm playing. My parents wouldn't drive me. I wouldn't be able to come over. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like 35 minutes from your house, girl.
But man, I want to build a printer. So lucky. I'm still trying to get them to buy one. I'm like, Mom, you can get this. You can do this with it. You'll be all right.
Oh, thanks, Christina. Yeah, I'm gonna YouTube the mess out of this one because I don't want to break it.
Okay, I'm back. Hello? Excellent. All right.
My printer came today.
Excellent. Very exciting.
Yes, it is. Can't wait.
More water. Oops. Oh well. We'll be all right. I'll just talk till I can't talk anymore, and then, you know, I've knocked yours off the table. Yeah. We the ones that when I was doing the mask project, I had 3 printers, and like literally the only thing that like we did that like we were worried about is like I moved them around so much we had to level them a lot.
Oh, okay.
So they're pretty.
Well, I got a guest room and I never have guests, so that's
Yep. Now it's a makerspace. All right. What we're going to talk about is making little tiny servers. So far, what we've done is we've used live server. Hello, load, go, move. And we've seen that we can do stuff like, you know, we can go here and we can run it. And we get
I'm falling in love with you, but I did promise that from now on, no one will ever hurt you or remind you.
They promised that nobody would ever hurt you.
the drama.
stupid. Stupid phone. I hate this phone.
When we're doing live server, we're building up a little tiny server that exists on this local IP address of the 127.0.0.1, and that's like your home. That's you. No matter where you go, that's your home. And then we tell it a port to, I think the default for live server is 550. Port is kind of like, you know, like old TVs. Well, I guess not old, but like TVs from like 10, 15 years ago that they have like.
Oh, the big ones?
Yeah, and they have like a bajillion and 7 things. And so you got like different inputs and outputs, and you can do like all these cables, or you can put like the 3 ones in and stuff. That's what ports are. Ports are just different ways of interacting with a thing. So typically, there's 2 main flavors. There's ephemeral and assigned ports, or permanent ports. I don't remember what the other ones are called. But like the permanent ports are like, this is for this and that's it. Port 80 is internet traffic. 26, I think, is FTP. And there's just like a list of them that are like, this is the only thing you use it for. Just like on a physical port, like if you had like the old ones, the red, yellow, and orange ones, that's all. Like you can't plug anything else into them. Our ephemeral ports are just like you just use them, and it's like a USB. You can put whatever you want in there. As long as it fits, it goes in there, and it doesn't matter what it is. We'll talk more about them, mix them up, see what happens. If you do run into some of those services, changing the port's a good idea. Yes. Leaving default ports open is definitely a security risk. We'll talk more about that week 10. Yeah. But yeah, we'll talk about networking stuff. So you guys have some basic networking skills. They're not like fundamental, but they can really help. Yeah, so let's look at making a server. So that's what this live server thing's doing, and that's going to yeah, Ian, that's Joy's wife. He seems really nice. I didn't get to meet him in person, but he seems
He was cool to respond. He was like quick. I was like, okay.
All right. I think Joy works with us now. I don't know if she's just working like contracts or volunteering or whatever, but she's been doing a lot of stuff. She's really nice. And that's her husband. I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm not wrong and just like saying all this stuff, but I'm pretty sure that they're married.
Rumors. That's how rumors get started.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I'm like pretty sure. Okay, so the file that I'm looking at right now is firstserver.js. Again, same repo that we've been in. Let's look at this code and then we'll run it and then we'll get to see what happens.
Jesus. It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. This right here is just saying what we get to run. So that's not super important code. We could actually just be like, hey, there we go. Much more manageable. So far we got HTTP, which is our internet protocol stuff. So this says, hello, yes, I'd like to be able to exist on the internet. We got our file system 1, so we can make files, read files, append files, delete files, etc. And then we got path, which we haven't talked about yet. Path basically just allows us to navigate through systems. So those are our modules that we're going to use to make a server. We go to our HTTP module and we say, hey, hello, I'd like to make a server. These are the two most common parameters for create server is request and response. You might also get error, and these might also get shortened to REQ and RES. Either one's fine. Neither one's more valid than the other. One saves you a couple letters of typing. The other one's more obvious to see which one's which. So first, we're going to log the request in the request URL. And that's going to come from the user. When the user asks for something, that's our request. And the request URL is like what you type in the browser. So like if you're like, you know, wikipedia.com/ I don't know, cool potatoes, that's our request URL. So then we mush it to a file path, so then we get to use it. And then we make sure if we don't have any file path going on, we just go home. Does that make sense? Then this is finding all of the other possible path names we can look at. So like .html files, .css files, images. We got some weird ones down here. I don't remember what these are. Font objects. I don't remember what a WASM is. These are font objects, so that way we can load custom fonts. I don't remember what this last one does.
Hover over it? No.
When would it be like that JSON?
So that would be like if you're handing data back and forth is when you would use this one. And this is also very useful for setting your headers. You normally want to tell it that it's a JSON file. WASM is WebAssembly. Good to know. That's probably why I don't know it, because I don't use WebAssembly. It's useful though. You can do some cool stuff with WebAssembly. You can do some cool stuff with it. I just don't use it, but it is very cool. All right, so good questions. Okay, so that's all this is doing, is this is saying, okay, I want to go, these are the only things we're allowed to do. We can do HTML, and like, you know, you might even go through and like get rid of some of these and be like, listen, this stuff, nah, you can't, not allowed. Don't load these things. Don't load the scripts, don't load this, whatever. You can get rid of stuff and change it if you need to. This is just the default one, and so I just left the defaults.
So that auto-generated?
This did not auto-generate, I just copy-pasted it.
Okay.
I just found these, so that way I can do this. So we get a content type that doesn't have errors in it. Again, notice this weird little syntax. Whoops, whoops. Sorry, I clicked. Got too excited. We've seen this before, and we talked about it a little bit, but we didn't super dive deep into it. What this is saying is like, if the request content type is one of those things in that list, use it. If it's not, we're going to smush it to this weird file structure here called an octet stream. This is, again, a weird little way of just handling data, just to make sure that we're not getting anything that we can't read. That's what this line is doing. Is it saying, hey, this should either be one of these MIME types, that's what they're called, or just give it this really weird format that almost anything can be read in. Obviously, if it's an image format and it tries to read it as an octet stream, it's going to be weird, but it's not going to throw an error. So that's what this line is doing. It's just saying, hey, is this content one of these? Cool. If not, do this. It's like opening an image in Notepad. Yeah, like if you've ever opened an image in Notepad and you get like the weird stuff, that's kind of what this is doing. Come on. Come on. Yeah. You can also do really cool stuff with like image encryption and that kind of stuff using that kind of stuff, but that's a totally different can of worms. Okay, so we're going to read a file from the file path, which we defined up here. Then we're going to do a callback function with an error and a content. And if it's error, this is the magic right here. If it can't find what the user is asking for, it does two things. One, it creates a response head with a 404 error, and it says what the content type is, which again, it's going to be one of these things that we defined up here. In this case, it's UTF-8. That's what we're handing it back. And the content. And so that's what this is doing. Is it saying, hey, if I can't find what you're asking me for, I'm going to print a 404 page. So that's what this is doing. And it's also writing the header. The header is a fundamental part for our server stuff. Because if there's no header, it's like dropping off a piece of mail at the post office with no postage stamp. It's not going to go anywhere. You cannot have coffee. No. No, you cannot. No, stunt your growth. So this is like the actual stuff, the actual contents of the letter, and then the header is like our address and stamp. So we are writing all this self or something we can copy paste. I wrote all of this. The only thing that I copied and pasted was this. I went and got this. But most of this is going to be pretty standard, so you can copy and paste a lot of this. And also when you're building out this stuff, you'll be using a system called Express. And Express handles a lot of this for you. But again, just like when we look at other stuff, it's really important to understand how these pieces work and not just blindly copy paste stuff. You will use VS Code. Express is a back-end framework. It's just more code.
So forgive me, Morgan. I think that's where I may be a little still confused. It's like, what does the server do for the web pages, right? Like, so we're building a server to host our web pages?
Exactly. So right now, we don't have any way of saving stuff. We don't have any way to make user accounts. We don't have any way to give our users new information or anything like that. And there's no persistence. So far with everything that we've learned, we can't do anything that's going to last. And we don't have really any ways to like security stuff. Yes, this is where persistence starts. We also have no way to set up a database right now. So Node and setting up servers and doing all this kind of stuff is how we get users and databases, and we can store images and give users new content. So
the server is storage?
It's storage and like a home for everything else. And it's also where we'll do more intense code. So like we don't necessarily want to check to see if the user's logged in on the client side, because that could be a really big security vulnerability. She does love me. She's very cute. She has decided that this is how I built the project I was talking about. Yep. Yes, last night, about midnight, she came into bed. She got real close to me, wiped all of her snot off on me, and then left.
She did what?
She got in bed with me. She got real close to me, like she was all cute and snuggly, and wiped all of her snot on me. Yeah. But you're a brat. She tries to be all cute and snuggly, but she's a brat. Yeah, these are all good questions. And the other thing is, something my son has done. You get on the couch, gets in close. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just like a real baby. At least she wasn't like thrown up on me. She has peed on me, which was fun, but she hasn't thrown up on me. And like when I used to work with kids, I got thrown up on. So he hasn't done that yet.
My son pooped on me when he was 2 weeks old. Went everywhere. It was just diarrhea everywhere. I was like, no.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm good. I don't want kids. I'm okay. I'm good.
In a quarter of a month.
Oh, somebody's driving and doing class. That's okay, as long as we're being safe.
No, my husband's driving. I'm watching the video, but I do have a question.
Yes.
So when we're going to a web page, we're the client and we're asking to access that web page.
Mm-hmm.
When you're setting up the server, is that so that clients can come to you and request information, and then we're responding? Is that
exactly?
Yep.
So this is a website that I don't think I have any node stuff because there's no database or anything. But this is my website, and I've made a request to load the homepage, which is kind of like this code right here. I'm not requesting anything extra, and so it's just going to go to the main page. That's what it's going to go to. And then it's going to run all the code that's on that index.html, which is... You're just so desperate, huh? Oh. Which is this. So it goes in and it loads this. And then like I have Bootstrap, so it goes and finds that. It has the fancy font for that top piece, so it goes and finds that. And then here's just the actual stuff. And this is what loads. When you go to that page, this page loads, and then it runs the JavaScript. And I just have a CDN host and an index. And this is because all of it's client side, but like I can't do anything with it. Like there's no way for me to save stuff. There's no way for me to like do anything with it. So I would need to set up all of my node stuff so that way I could maybe like every time I get this response and someone says yes, like maybe I want to document that. And so, you know, I should set up Node and set up a MySQL instance, and then I can have this stuff do something. Versus just, you know, there's no way to save this information or interact with it besides just refreshing it. So yeah, good questions. Server-side code gives us the ability to do stuff like we're not able to do client-side, you know, chats or user accounts or store inventory. We need Node for that. So good questions. So like, yeah. So like all of this, this is the one that I have just set up on GitHub. I'm sorry, on my GitHub just pushes to it. But like, so all of these things are on my server. And so when we request these things, it loads. I think it'll serve up a 404 page, but I didn't make it, so I don't know what it looks like. Yeah, so this is just the server 404 page. So if I ask for a resource that doesn't exist, it just says 404. And we go to the home page. It goes to the
So if you're using a hosting service to host your website and there's a question or something that needs your attention, how do you find out about that if you're using a separate service?
It depends. It depends how much money you've paid. It depends what service you're using, and it depends how much control you have over it. So for instance, I use AWS for everything. I pay for all my stuff, and I have both my DNS and my server through Amazon services. It's like I don't pay for light sail, like specifically I don't pay for that service, so I do not get light sail support, and so I have to fix all my own stuff. But if I had an issue with my DNS or ability to connect to my actual server, I could just shoot an email to Amazon and they respond within a day. Yeah, send you an email when you're using resources. Yeah. So it just depends on what you're using and what you're doing and how much you set up. So like, I use AWS for everything because I like cloud services. I don't want to have all this stuff on my computer because I don't want a bunch of people hitting my machine. But like you can set up all of this stuff. So it'll send you emails and logs and tell you like super detailed stuff about what's up. You can do CloudWatch, auto scaling, like all of this management stuff. All of that does is like it tells you what's going on, what's working, what's not working, what costs money, what doesn't, all of that stuff. That's why I like AWS. The light sail instance I have set up like it's a fixed cost, and then if something goes wrong with it, I just shoot an email to Amazon, or I fix it myself because I did something stupid.
So AWS, where are their servers located? Because doesn't the legal parameters matter based on like what country and where their servers are located?
So that's a really interesting question. So these are all the big server groups that AWS has that you can put stuff in. AWS is not a server farm. AWS is everything. It's virtual machines, it's server space, it's DNS, it's satellites, it's machine learning stuff, it's load balancing stuff, it's Kubernetes containers, it's everything. Like you can do so much stuff with AWS. Yeah. It is like, I also like if you're interested in machine learning, SageMaker is a really easy tool to learn. So this list right here is all of the big servers that they have. Yeah, it's mostly to get data back from the satellite. But yeah, you can rent time from a satellite with AWS, which is insane. These are all the servers that they have, and questions about legality is really interesting. So I live in America, and my server group is currently in America because it's closest to me and I wanted it to be the same time zone. But what if all my server space is in Stockholm and I do something illegal? Am I beholden to America's laws or the ones in Stockholm? Or what? Because like, you know, Stockholm, you can sell weed and that's fine. That's like not illegal at all. Like that's like selling coffee there. But it's illegal here. So what laws apply? So it's a really good question. I don't have a good answer for you. But yeah, with the internet and interconnectivity, it is a lot harder to know what matters and what doesn't. Like, Yeah, neither do courts. Courts don't have a really good answer yet either. Like, it's totally, and like other stuff's really interesting. Like, like I think weed is like a pretty low stakes thing. Like, people probably aren't gonna like die or anything. But like, it's like a Schedule 1 drug here. Like, America is like, nah, that's worse than guns.
Or even like privacy laws.
Mhm. Exactly. So like the EU has much different laws about what kind of data you are allowed to collect. But if I'm an American and all my server structures in America, am I beholden to the European Union's laws? Or even more locally, like California has different data privacy laws than Georgia. Really good question. Overall, play it pretty safe and think about maybe not the most strict laws, because like nothing you do is going to be approved for like China. But like, as long as you're not doing anything overly shady, you'll probably be fine. But like, I think the biggest thing is data privacy. Yeah, everyone's accepted that if you're serving EU citizens, you follow the laws on data, and that's why everyone has the data collection notice. Yeah. And I think so, but like, that's just people being nice. Like, a lot of the companies that's gotten sued for this kind of stuff is because they have legal precedent in that country. So like Google's gotten sued for it, but like Google has offices and stuff. It's a WordPress plugin. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't change anything. It's just like whatever. But yeah, that's a really good question. Like, we don't really have really good data privacy laws internationally. We don't have really good like legality stuff nationally for like data privacy, or just even like lower stake stuff. Like, some places it's legal to gamble. Some places it's legal to buy liquor on Sundays. So like, does Amazon have a legal responsibility to make sure that I don't buy liquor before 12:30 on a Sunday? Because that's illegal in Georgia. Well, at least Columbia County. I don't know if all of Georgia it is, but at least here it is. And if we do have them, we can just ask the other country. Yep. Why is it illegal to buy alcohol Sunday mornings? The Catholics, in a very short, in a very, very short thing. It's, you're supposed to be in church. You're not supposed to be out here buying liquor. You're supposed to be in church. You used to not be able to buy liquor at all, or like any alcohol at all on Sunday, and now it's just after 12:30. But yeah. No, and but like, does Amazon have a requirement to make sure that I don't buy, I want to get some beer shipped to my house? Exactly. What about people with different religions? That doesn't interfere with that. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing, because like, I'm not religious, and like, you guys know that. So like, for me, I'm like, oh, well, I wanted to like, hang out and do my own thing. And so like, for me to like, I'm like, oh, that's inconvenient. It's after midnight. Yep. I've had like parties that have ended because that's it. Just chill. Yeah, but like, I'm not out here trying to like be like super lit or anything. I just want to chill. But point being, does Amazon have a legal requirement to like not let me buy beer Sunday mornings because that's what the local ordinance is? Or like California, you can't buy a lot of weapons. Like, you can't buy knives bigger than like 3 inches. They apply state taxes. State taxes are only due to Nexus, and Nexus is a totally different can of worms, which I actually know way too much about because I used to do e-commerce. State taxes only get concerned once you have reached Nexus in that state, and some states still have it. Like Washington and Montana, there's no state tax. That is specifically because Wayfair got sued, is why online stores have to do taxes. It's because Wayfair got sued about it. But yeah, so like what does, and like who's responsible for that? So like if, let's say you're a California resident and you want to buy, you know, a hunting knife that's over the, you know, whatever the California laws are. I think there's something ridiculous, like bigger than 3 inches. And you know, like if you're like hunting deer or something, you probably actually want a bigger knife. But whatever, California says no. No mall ninjas. No. They won't let you buy anything. You're not, it's illegal to buy throwing stars and switchblades and like all sorts of stuff in California. But point being, does Amazon have a legal requirement to not sell that stuff to them? Politicians. Yeah, exactly. And like who gets to decide whether or not they have a legal responsibility? You can buy trees. Yeah, and cause all sorts of things. That's a really good point. Can I buy a plant or an animal that is an invasive species in my area? So like, you know, we're not allowed to have savanna cats in Georgia because they're an invasive species and they're endangered. If someone in Alabama is selling them, can I order my cat online? Whose responsibility is that? Or what about like an invasive species? Like, I mean, kudzu's what comes to mind, and I don't think anybody's buying kudzu. Yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to sell it, but it's not illegal in Alabama to have a savanna cat. So there's nothing wrong in their state with doing it. Yeah.
I thought endangered species. I thought it was like endangered species were protected, meaning you can't own one and you can't like sell them. That's what I thought they was. Like,
yeah, but like the savanna cats are just like a Georgia thing. So different states have different rules. You're not allowed to buy corn snakes because they're native and people take them to sell. Yeah, exactly. And some of them are. Yeah, you're not able to buy it, but like when it, yep, the address of the customer. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's again because Mary Kay has Nexus everywhere because they do so much sales. But like when you're like thinking about these things, like there are things that people do just to avoid getting sued. But that's not the same thing as legal precedents. So it's the same thing with like Hanes Code and comic book codes and stuff. Like there is not a hard and fast set rule saying Amazon has a legal requirement to, you know, make sure that people in California don't buy, you know, knives that don't meet the requirement. Or even just like more, I think, simple cut and dry legal issues. Like, yes, ball pythons are legal in Georgia and they're very nice. One of my friends had one for a while. They are a lot of work though. And if they get sick, it's very expensive to take care of them because you have to go all the way to Columbia to go to the vet for them. There's not an exotic animal vet in Augusta. So like, here's the thing. If I give Amazon a fake ID card and they sell me liquor, yeah, they start small though. They start at like 2 feet and take a couple years to get big. Stop. The vet in Hepzibah takes them. That's good to know. Yeah. The Burmese pythons. Yeah. Yeah, they don't get big till they're older. Because like my friends had the snakes for years and like it's probably still shorter than me. So a little bit of a side reel, but it's important to know that when you're building out all these services that like, yeah, they don't get very big. This idea of legal precedent is very soft. And this is why it's so hard to do things like enforce accessibility. Or, you know, everything that we've talked about has been pretty like not shady. Like, you know, I want to buy liquor before 12:30. I want to buy a hunting knife. But what about like really shady things? Like what about like human trafficking? What about like, you know, really intense illegal things? Like that's why it's so hard to enforce these things, is that there's no standard precedence for it. And people also do really, really dumb things to get around it that totally work. Like there's this country called Sealand. It's an oil rig. It's technically its own country, and it is one single abandoned oil rig, that has a population of 2 dudes, yeah, just try not to do illegal stuff. Be respectful of people's data, all that. But like, you know, like if you live in a country that's not legally recognized by the UN, who gets to enforce laws?
So what do they sell? Those 2 dudes.
They don't sell anything. It's just like their whole point is just like it's their own country and they get to do whatever. Like the one dude still works in Ireland. Like, but like the whole point is like there are definitely people who are like malicious. Yes, imaginary titles to their country. Yeah. No, Sealand is literally just an oil rig, just chillin'. Yeah, there's nothing there. It is literally an oil rig. That's it. There are other countries that are real countries that aren't recognized too, though, that have stuff. Yeah, there's 2 dudes. There's 2 dudes that work in shifts to like paint it. It depends. Yeah, like there are islands you can buy that you can make it your own country, and there are plenty of them. And like, they're not that expensive. Like, you could probably buy some islands cheaper than a boat to get there. Anyway, buy an island, host your own server farm, become a criminal overlord. Just kidding. Don't do that. Probably. All legal disclaimers, don't do illegal things. But yeah, so really good question. And like figuring out legal precedent is really hard. And like there's not really a good answer.
That is funny, Christina.
Yeah. But yeah, so AWS has a bunch of really cool stuff that you can do. Here's all like the Kubernetes stuff. Here's all the machine learning stuff, which is really cool. SageMaker is really easy to use. You got robotics tools. You got all these developer tools. Cloud9's really nice. But yeah, so legal precedent is really hard to define. AWS gives you astonishing tools that are well documented and easy to use. Whole thing is we make servers so that way we can do cooler stuff than just like load a page. Is this free? No. So for my 2 domain names and a server, I pay like $6 a month. So it's not very expensive. Some things do get expensive, but a lot of things also have free trials, and part of your GitHub student pack is free trials for this. Like S3 is free for a while, but then like after a certain amount, it costs money. And you can use S3 to store website stuff. So like if you only want, like if you are making a website like our portfolio websites that don't do anything, you can host them on S3, and that's like dirt cheap. Like dirt cheap. And maybe like less than $1 a month to run a website with S3. Yeah, a lot of these things are really cool. The machine learning stuff is really easy to learn. I really especially recommend SageMaker. It's really easy to understand and to learn and make stuff. Deep Racer is also really cool too. And if you want to get into it, AWS does free scholarships if you complete the Deep Racer program. So highly recommend. And they're fun. What else? So yeah, so we need server-side code in order to do stuff like interact with databases, do user accounts and all that, and also like coming up with legal precedents for the entire globe is challenging. We'll talk more about AWS. I don't know, week 10? I don't know. All right. There's a slight derailment, but I don't think too terrible. Okay. Oops, I don't know what I did. Here we go. Okay. So, and then also like using all of our node stuff, how we get all the statuses to actually make stuff run. So like if we're not just doing a static website that just loads a thing, we need to have headers. And Node is how we do that for JavaScript. Great. Okay. Then we have our dreaded 500 errors. 500 errors are the worst. They're like, I don't know, man, something's wrong with your server, but I don't know what. These suck to debug. But if we don't get any errors, we get a status of 200. That means, okay, we get to go. And then we write our content, and then we get to go. And then this is the port it's listening to. So this is like saying, hey, if you want to get to this website, this is the port you go to. Normally we're at like 80 or 880. This is just a custom port, so that way we don't have to worry about if I had like another service running on my computer, we don't have to worry about it. Okay, let's run it. Let's run it and take a look. Okay, server running. Go here. Yep. Hello. There we go. And then it loads that index.html that's in here, right here. So we could do something else, like maybe let's make it a web page. Oops. Yes. And then, you know, maybe page 1. Hello. I'm going to be really bad and do some inline styling just because I want to show you guys that it works.
So is it always going to be your loopback that you put in there?
Which piece?
For the server running it and then the HTTP 127.0.0.1.
Yeah, this is just to get it to our home address. Like if we were on like a real server, we would have it, you know, running on whatever the server's IP address was or the DNS. But for all of like the local testing stuff, it'll just be local. There we go. Look at that. Now it's an HTML page. So exciting. And so this is how we'd serve up all the other pages. And so I think we also have 404 pages. Oops. We're supposed to go, oh, I wonder if I need to do this. And it should give me a 404 error. Nope. Oh, there we go. It's returned a 404 error, which is nice. And we don't have a 404 page, so we could make that and serve it up. And you can put 404 pages on your GitHub websites too. I think I made one for mine. I don't remember. It also might not work because I don't remember. There we go. Here's my 404 page that I made for my website. So there's not an about on my page anymore. So then I go back and it goes to my home page.
So if you were to change websites and like you had a redirect, is that a page you would have to make?
If you are going to make a custom redirect page, yes. If you're just going to go and put a 301 redirect, then it'll just hit it and go. So you shouldn't have to make a page. Oh, there we go. But yeah, so that's what we get to do with this piece is we get to serve up actual stuff. And then like if we wanted to do, I have a couple full stack demos that are just hanging out. If you want to go through and look, they're called like full stack. They're called like, you know, website demo and stuff like that. So you can take a look and see what actually happens when we get to build this whole thing together. Because right now we've done all of the client-side stuff we're going to do. We did HTML, CSS, and front-end JavaScript. We've done that piece. We could make simple static websites, like using something like Gatsby or Jekyll. Which, hey guys, you've already used Jekyll to make a website. That's what Pages is made with.
So is a software engineer the same as a software developer, or is that
Good question. Typically, my definition between what's a software developer and a software engineer is engineers write documentation and get paid more. That is my informal definition of it, but a lot of people do use them interchangeably. But engineers...
The engineers write documentation, you said? Like, so that would be in addition to what a web developer does?
Mm-hmm. And engineers also typically, not all the time, but typically do architecturing too. And so a software architecture tends to be where like the real money's at, because you're making really big solutions. And then ZZ, to answer your Jekyll question, your GitHub pages is written in Jekyll. So like if you go and like look like how do I make a GitHub pages, come on, go, load. I wanna go.
like what kind of documentation?
Documentation comes in a couple different flavors. So like user documentation and developer documentation. So like, this is documentation. Explain to me in depth how this works with code examples. This is documentation. This is the kind of documentation that engineers get paid to do. There's also user documentation, which is like instructions. So like tell an end user how to use the software. That kind of documentation might not be the same person who makes the code. That might sometimes be a separate person. Other kinds of documentation include things like issues, pull requests, comments, code standards, style guides, like kind of like user agreements and all that kind of stuff. Those are all documentation. Like all the supporting stuff that we write that's not code is documentation. And the people who write the documentation tend to get paid more. Because you also tend to be the person who's making decisions. So like a developer gets handed a problem and they solve the problem and that's it. An engineer or an architect looks at that problem and tries to figure out how to not only solve that problem, but make sure that there's nothing like that problem ever again. So they do bigger solutions. All right. Okay. So how do we feel about all of these things? Medium, got some ums. Okay. Got some S. Okay. Let's make another server. All right. Watch some videos. Excellent. Yes, I'll put videos on tonight or tomorrow morning. So let's take a look and let's build out this guy. I'm going to do this so we can look at, come on, scoop over there. There we go. Okay. I'm going to do this. I need to organize these. I'm going to make a new folder. Yeah. I'll put all the stuff in here. Okay. So I'm going to put all the services in here. Mothman. No, every now and then I'll get like an idea for something really stupid and I just have to do it. My brother started singing Mothman to the tune of YMCA and it just kind of got stuck in my head. So I made a whole like 4-minute song about Mothman set to the YMCA. It's literally the most successful piece of content I've ever created.
Oh, wow.
Which is...
Can you put it in Slack?
Huh?
Can you put it in Slack?
Yeah. It's on my YouTube channel, like my YouTube channel, not a the Clubhouse's YouTube channel. Yeah, I just every now and then I get a real like, I just, want to go look at things and like, that's what I got going on. Come on, go. But yeah, so everything else is like chilling at like a couple views, and then my stupid Mothman video. Yeah, so I wrote the lyrics and did all the video editing and drew the thing. Can I have it? I don't want it to play. I just
Instead, you're a
Here
new
we go. There's my
friend
Mothman
around.
video.
There's no need to be
Please,
hungry.
just stop. Okay. Here we go. Here's my beautiful top quality
Wow.
art. This is what I do every now and then. I just get a wild hair and I'm like, I'm going to learn how to edit videos and make songs and custom write lyrics. And why?
Because
Anyway, that's, yeah. The MP4 is because we're going to look at media servers so we can do stuff like this. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what this is it's garbage that I made because I wanted to know how to do YouTube stuff. So I did everything. Okay. All right, we're focusing. Please enjoy my beautiful Mothman video. I hope it brings you a lot of joy because it brought me a lot of joy. And also, like, just go make stuff. Like, that took me like an hour to go from I don't know how to use iMovie to I made a music video. So it's not that hard. I believe in y'all. Maybe do some more valuable things than a song about Mothman, but
Oh, I got a rap song
there we go.
in German. That's gonna be funny.
All right, we need to get going. There we go. Okay, we're gonna require this. I got demonetized for it because technically I don't own that recording. So it's cool. I hope you enjoy my Mothman song. Your mom's gonna be like, "What is wrong with you?" I don't want to be blamed for it. All right. So this one's a little bit weird. I think that this is kind of like extra. I would probably just put the number in. I probably wouldn't hand it as just a variable, but what else? We're going to follow the instructions. 880 is a pretty common testing port because 80 is like internet. So 880 is just like an ephemeral port that we get to use. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay. Our next thing is we're going to make a server. And again, we're just using const instead of var, just because we're never going to change these things. Like, we always want HTTP to be HTTP. We always want our port to be this. We always want our server to be a server. Like, we're not going to change any of these. We're going to use that module that we required. We're going to ask it to create a server. We're going to get a request and a response. And we're going to hand those back to a function. Again, with this kind of stuff, this would be the same thing as writing out something like this. Spell the words correctly. We can do something like that, and that's the same thing. We just use the arrow notation because it's a little bit slicker, and it allows us to do other things like mapping. Okay, all right. We're just going to say, yep, we made a request to the server. Great. And semicolons everywhere because that's what we're supposed to be doing. Now we're going to listen on this. So the server object we created on line 5, he's got a method called listen. We're going to listen on our port. We're going to give it a function. Again, this is the same thing as writing an anonymous function. We just use this notation. And we're just going to say console dot log. This is string interpolation. Oops, maybe it'll be string interpolation. Oh, okay. I don't know how to get that emoji to show up, so we're not getting an emoji on ours. Sorry, y'all. Okay, and semicolons, semicolons. And right now, if we did this, it would just console.log all this stuff. Oh, I should close this. There we go. Oops. Great, and again, this thing right here, callback function. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and run this guy. Oh, I need to CD in to here. Hello. Okay, there we go. I made a folder, so I just moved into it so that way I didn't get any errors like it doesn't exist. Okay, so now we're gonna run it. We're listening on port 880. So now we're gonna run, we could do like Postman or open our browser, or we can just curl. Curl is a utility. It's just a tool we get to use. It's just like ping or whatever. So we curl localhost at port 880. And now watch over here. This is what we care about. Okay. So there we go. Request on the server. Close this one. And then there we go. So we made a server. And then we made a request to it. And our server told us that the request was made. Which is pretty fancy. Curl, again, is just like a network command. Don't stress about it too much. I think if I do curl-i, it'll give us more information. Nope, no more information. But then notice that it's all that we made another request. Okay, this is easier. Great. Cool, cool, cool. Curl is just a way to make a request. It just hands stuff. You can do whatever you want. Like we could ping this too if you wanted to. And I think this would actually be pretty fun to watch it do it. So these both should start setting each other off. So let's see. Ping cannot resolve. Okay, fine. What if I do the IP address? Unknown host. So this one's not working because it's not hitting it on the port. I was hoping it would, but it's not. That's okay. Ping is a really nice tool to make sure that like your server's alive. So like you could like, you know, ping Google.com. And then we get Google's IP address. It's very fancy. They obviously own more than one IP address, but you know, it's nice. Those are network tools. We'll talk about it week 10, but I just wanted to talk about like that's what we're doing. There we go. We see that we made a request. We don't do anything. So we need to respond. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Important note. When you start doing this stuff, it does not auto close. It will just leave the connection open. So then if you try to relaunch stuff, it will say the connection already exists. So you need to come in and close it. You just exit or Control-C and just close. Get out of it. Otherwise, you'll try to relaunch stuff and it won't work. .exit, yeah, exactly. Okay, so we set up a server. We saw that we could talk to it, but it didn't give us anything back, right? Like when I pulled up this part of the terminal, like it didn't do anything. Like it didn't do anything. It didn't give us any information. There's no pictures. It's a whack. All right. So let's make something so it actually does all this. Do I replace this in here? Oh, no, I just added. Okay. So again, oops, went too far over. We come in here, we just add all this stuff. Let's make our spacing pretty. Really need to find that. I'm going to do that when I do the videos. I need to find that cheap guide for you guys. Videos and cheap guide. All right. There's a Sans Institute cheat guide that is very helpful, and it explains every single piece of the header, and it's really nice. I just have to find it because it's not the popular one. Everyone wants the pen testing one and the Nmap ones and all that stuff. But, you know, I just want to know what a header is. Okay, so now what's going to happen is we have a header and a body. So now when we're done, when we make a request to the server, it's going to give us a header, which again is like our, yes, it's right up your alley for sure. For sure. So now what's going to be, it's going to be like, okay, the server works. It's going to give us back some text, and then it's going to post both the head with the status code and this content type. This is very important right here. This one, 10 out of 10 important. Will not work if this is missing. Same thing if you want to use the fetch API. This will not work if you do not give the content header. You need this. So once you have determined the headers in the body, you just hand it off. So your body is your content, that's your letter that you wrote, and then your header is your address. And then it gets to go. I don't think we need to do anything else, right? Okay, let's take a look. So we're going to run it again. So we're listening on the port. There's been no requests yet. So now we come over here. I'm going to clear this real fast. Empty reply from server. What did I do wrong? Oops, something's wrong. Let's take a look. We got an error. Oh. I called it RES here, and I called it response here. Oops. That's okay. That's fixable. Go ahead. Okay. Is there anything else like that? I don't think so. Okay. Yay! Look at that. So then there's our text here. I'm also going to put a new line in here. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for letting me know. I hope it is all good. So then notice it handed me my header information. So it said, hey, we're using HTTP. We have a status of 200. Our content type is just text. Connections keep alive. We don't care about that yet. And then there's our content. And then it says we have a request on the server. Fancy. We can just do that as many times as we want. So this code would exist on a server, either like a physical server thing, like if you know, like if you had an on-premise server, like TaxSlayer has on-premise servers, you would be writing code that just lives on that server. Because remember, servers are just computers. They're computers that exist. Or this would be the code that exists on your cloud systems. Like all my code exists on AWS because like we got an itty bitty apartment. We're not fitting a server rack up in here. The boy is convinced that that's what we should do, and he wants to set up his own server so the 3D printer is connected to its own server. I'm good. I'm so good. The boy, yes. He's the boy. It better be a mini TX toaster. No. Homeboy wants a whole server rack. Nah. We don't even own a paper printer. Like between us, we don't own like a regular printer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a hot mess. Well, like if I need to print like shipping labels or something, I'm like, I do refer to him as the boy. I'm very mean. Yeah, I'm getting sleepy. It's all good. We only got another like 20 minutes and we're done. Bear with me. All right. This is where it gets a little complicated.
Whoa, a little?
A little. Hey, it's just if statements. It's just if statements.
Yeah, but how many?
Like 3.
4? Oh no. Oh Lord. Jesus.
Okay, this is fine. So first of all, we're going to add a 404 error to our stuff. That's not bad. So cool. Great. Thanks. Let's find out. Okay, so do I get rid of this or do I keep it? Hold on. Hold on, Mr. Tutorial. Start nodding anyway. Yep. It is all good. All right. So am I supposed to get rid of this? Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to... Is this the shortcut for it? No.
Yep, that's
Nope.
it.
Oop.
No,
I know there's a shortcut to
it's right up there.
comment it. I want to comment the whole thing out. How do I do that? Control K, then C. Okay. Control K, then C. Nope.
No, that's undo. Control C is undo.
I'm hitting K. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, fine. I will manually do it. There is a shortcut way to do comments in VS Code, and I never remember what it is.
Oh, you just got it.
Yeah, I don't know. But there's a shortcut way to do this. Okay, so this does one thing. We're going to write a comment on top that says what it does. This makes a server that returns the string control space. It's annoying. Okay. Good to know. Okay. And return string hello world when we ask for the local host. Okay. So that's what it does. Comment about what the code is doing so that way we know. Down here, we're going to make some code. This is more complicated. Handles 404 and host and git. Okay. So real fast, I'm going to make our server again because we got rid of it. Server. All right, I'm going to write this all the way out because I'm going to just copy paste that stuff. What am I doing out here, y'all? Response. There we go. So lambda expression or a fat arrow notation. Again, just a fancy way of a function call. And then I'm just going to get this all the way to here. This is what we want. Yep. All right, so that's a lot of code. Let's take a look. Oh, look, they worked. They worked. That's cool. All right, I need a second for my brain to comprehend that the copying and pasting emojis worked because my brain is like, the idea of copy pasting an emoji is too much for me. What? Why are you complaining? Quit complaining. There we go. That was weird. There we go. Okay. So again, we're just going to say, hey, console.log server stuff, make a header, say it's just some text. If it's 404, we just don't do anything. If the request URL is here, we say hello. If the request URL is bananas, we get bananas. We can also post information and get new bananas, which is very fancy. We can do other stuff too and all that. So let's take a look, save it, close our server.
Yeah, that was a little quick, but okay.
Okay, well, what? What do you want from me? I'm going to show you.
I'm like, what?
Okay, so first, so this one right here, same thing as what we had before.
Okay, yeah.
This one is just saying if we can't find it, we just say can't find it.
Okay.
This one is saying if our your request URL ends with bananas, instead of saying hello, we give back the banana emojis. This post one I want to show you guys, which is why I misspelled request in function. Yep. Good catch. Good catch. All right, so we need to save this again. Okay. Good catch. This 201, this post one, that's weird. So I want to show you guys that one because that's different. We might need to use Postman for that. It'll be fine. Everything's fine. All right. Now. So now we got to request the server, and it says hello. But now we get to do new stuff. So we can do bananas. That's what I was expecting it to give me.
What is that? Oh.
It tried to copy and paste the emojis. That's what it thinks the emojis look like.
Okay.
So then, but what if I go to somewhere that doesn't exist? It gives me a 404. Human language, yes. So that's what we've done, is we went from just one page, and if you didn't hit that page, just that's it. You don't get any context or information. Encrypted bananas. Encrypted bananas is a good thing. It's just Unicode, and it wasn't able to translate it back and forth. So what about this, like, posting stuff? We haven't talked in depth about HTTP requests. I highly recommend watching some videos about it to really bulk up your skills. We'll talk about it later too. But GET is basically like, hello, yes, I would like information from the server. And POST is like, hello, yes, here's server information. Can I just curl that request, or do I have to do something else? Let's read the directions. I want to know how to use the post without using Postman. So sad. While I'm percolating, I'm also going to pull up your homework. I'm also going to try to launch Postman, but Postman takes forever and it literally might not be open until after class is over. We'll see. So I'm going to try to get Postman to launch, and I'm going to pull up your homework. Okay, let's one's thinking about its life, I'm going to give Postman another second. And we're going to see if we can do a post request to our server. So while that's loading, here is what I want you guys to do for homework. This isn't using the server stuff. This is talking about like reading and writing stuff. So it's going back to what our node stuff was for like yesterday and like earlier today before break. So you're going to ask for a question, print it, ask another question, print it. So that's what I want you guys to do with your CLI stuff. This one I actually want your code. You do not have to turn in a screenshot of your code. I just wanted to show you a screenshot of what I was expecting. So question, answer, question, answer. That's what I want you guys to do.
So when we turned it in, like for yesterday's homework, did you want a screenshot of it in the terminal on the actual terminal of the computer, or on the one in VS Code?
Either way. So for the homework for yesterday, just a screenshot of your terminal, whichever one you used. If you used like the computer's terminal, that's cool. If you used VS Code's one, either one's fine. Whichever one you did it in. In this one, I don't need a screenshot. I just want your code, but I wanted to show you guys what I meant, so mine has a screenshot on it. That's basically what it did yesterday. Okay, great, perfect, 10 out of 10.
So what did you want us to do? How did you want us to send? Oh, push commit.
Code, push code.
Okay, never mind.
Yep, you make a new repo, push code. You just didn't have to set up a repo yesterday.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But this week you will. So, make a repo, make a branch, input file, all day. All right, let's see if Postman's up now. Hello. I don't know why, but like every other time I use Postman, it just doesn't work. Application not responding. That's also why I was saying I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to work. Well, it looks like it. We got a little thing down here. We'll see. All right, don't move. I don't care. Just open. Take a few minutes. Okay, well, it's loading now, so that's something. We'll see how it feels about its life. I don't think I can drag it over to this screen while it's loading. Right. So that's what I want for your homework. Oh, look, it's loading. Okay. You do not have to install Postman. There are online ones, and you also can like do other stuff like you can just have it like make the request with your browser. No, don't make me sign in. I don't know what my account is. Ooh, I don't know. Wow. This is so exciting. Postman is actually a really easy tool to use. It's just kind of like, it is a enterprise tool, and so there's definitely some, all right, this isn't gonna work. We don't get to make a post request. We'll do it tomorrow because it's being ornery and it wants me to log in with a different account than what I have. Okay, exciting. I wonder, can I do? Go away. This tab. Okay. This tab. All right. Let me actually save all this stuff real fast and push it all so you have it. Okay, there we go. So we got more stuff. So let me launch that server again, and we're just going to post via the CLI, which is fine. I have YMCA stuck in my head now because I talked about my
YMCA.
Okay, so we're going to do Perl with some data. Call it new banana. We're at local. What are you doing? New local host at port 880. Go.
You just wrote new?
Yeah, just the word new because it was being non-re, so I just shortened it.
So is there any way you can actually copy paste in the terminal?
Yeah, shift insert.
Oh.
Yep.
Because I was trying to do it yesterday. It did not work. I was like, no.
Shift insert. Yep. All right, so my post did not work, which I'm not surprised because, I was out here trying to do stuff. What if I ask it to post? What if I do this? What if I do curl, pick this, post, local host at port 880. How do you feel about that? No. Don't care. Actually, maybe that is working. So then now if I go and just curl it, what do you give me? Nope. That's okay. All right. I wanted to show you guys a post request, which is a little bit more complicated, but it's decided it rather not, and that's fine, I guess. Oh, also important, I don't think we looked at this, end. You need to close your connection. Otherwise, things just hang out and open. Basically, yeah, it just didn't do anything. It's just chilling, which is probably makes sense because I don't have like the server like set up as a real server. So trying to make post requests on it, it's like, no. Okay, we got a couple minutes. So really fast, I want to talk about query strings and URL parsing, like real fast. You don't need these for your homework, but I want to just spend a lot of time with promises because they're really hard. So I'd rather kind of breeze over URLs. Requests are made with the URL. And we can see that when we Google stuff. And again, I don't know how to make the top part of my thing bigger. Oh, I'm up here. So if I Google something like, I don't know, I need a new notebook now because I've ripped the elastic off of mine. So let's look for new note. Okay, great. Probably just look for a notebook. So let's look up here. So notice we have this whole thing. We got question marks and equal signs, plus what we're doing and some information about our stuff. This URL is performing a GET request to the server by handing in information back to the server. And so then we go to Google server and it looks for all the stuff and it hands back all of these resources. That's the whole point of a GET request. So this query string is new notebook plus I'm using Chrome and I'm writing English. So it gives us all of these information.
Where do all these numbers come in?
Where do what?
Those numbers, what are they?
I think the Chrome one is my user ID, and I think the RLZ number is a search ID, I think. Okay. I think. Those are both IDs. I could be wrong, though. That's what I think they are. So that's how we ask it for questions, is it's just literally Q question mark. I'm sorry, question mark Q. Yep, there you go. As a query. Here's our query string, and then we hand that to our server to do stuff. Normally, we're just consuming them, like we saw here. This is a request URL that we are consuming. So you're not normally writing them. You're normally just consuming them. Kind of like, this is not exactly the same, but like when we did the ad settings thing, this is going to a subdomain, so it's not exactly the same thing, but this is taking us somewhere different on Google servers than when we do a search. All right, so we did a bunch of stuff today. We learned a bunch of things. We had our brains a little bit broken by asynchronous code, which we're going to break even further tomorrow. We got to build some servers, which is very exciting. We talked about why we care, what we can do with servers. Any questions? In today's homework, you're not like getting super in depth into it. You're going to keep building with the Node CLI stuff. This is hard. This is where we start to be full stack. Everything we've done so far has been front end. Here's where we really start to get into the back end stuff and learn how to be a full stack developer. So we've learned piece 1. We're going to spend some time learning piece 2 and 3, and then we're going to spend some time smooshing them all together. All right. Well, I'm definitely not going to try to teach promises in 4 minutes. That would be insane. Like, literally insane to do. So if you guys do not have any questions, then we are good to go. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Definitely take naps. Tomorrow's going to be hard.
Yes, I need a nap. Good night.
Yeah. Take a nap. Tomorrow's going to be hard. Bye.
Bye.